Robin Roberts has been a symbol of resilience and inspiration for decades. A familiar face whose presence on television has brought comfort and hope to millions. From her early days as a young sportscaster to becoming a beloved anchor on Good Morning America, Robin always seemed unshakable, handling every challenge with grace, intelligence, and warmth. Her smile lit up the screen, her voice reassured viewers, and her strength became something of a legend. But behind the camera, behind the carefully composed image that millions admired, Robin has faced struggles so profound and heartbreaking that they would challenge even the strongest person. For years, she kept her private battles hidden, choosing to show courage to the world while quietly carrying fear, pain, and uncertainty in her personal life. From the first health crisis that tested her limits to subsequent complications that threatened to derail both her career and her personal life, Robin has endured obstacles that few could imagine. The pressure of living up to the public's expectations while grappling with life-changing challenges created a tension that was exhausting, emotional, and often isolating. Her story is more than one of illness or personal struggle. It is a story of quiet perseverance, heartbreak, and survival. At 65, Robin Roberts' life has been marked by moments of both triumph and tragedy, with each victory shadowed by the battles no one else could see. Once you learn the full extent of what she has endured behind the scenes, the admiration for her strength grows even deeper, and the heartbreak becomes undeniable. Long before the world knew the full extent of Robin Roberts' challenges, she had been quietly facing struggles that tested her resolve in ways few could imagine. On the surface, she was the familiar, reassuring presence millions woke up to each morning, the smiling anchor whose professionalism and warmth seemed unwavering. But behind the camera, the reality was far different. Exhaustion weighed heavily on her body after long days of preparation, interviews, and live broadcasts. The early signs of health complications were subtle at first: fatigue that wouldn't go away, occasional dizziness, and the creeping awareness that her body was no longer as resilient as it once was. She brushed these signs aside, prioritizing work over rest, driven by the same determination that had propelled her career from small-town newsrooms to national fame. Robin's work ethic, once a source of pride, became both a shield and a burden. She pushed herself to meet the expectations of her colleagues, her audience, and most importantly, herself. Every morning, she would wake before sunrise, review her notes, and rehearse interviews, all while suppressing the physical strain she felt. Even in moments of pain or exhaustion, she remained composed on air, delivering news with clarity and confidence. To viewers, she seemed tireless, unshakable, and entirely in control. But each broadcast was a performance carefully orchestrated to hide the physical and emotional toll building inside her. The pressure of maintaining this image was compounded by the private nature of her struggles. Robin feared that sharing her vulnerabilities would burden her colleagues or worry her family. She carried her fears silently, believing that strength meant concealing pain rather than seeking help. The self-imposed isolation created a paradox. The woman who inspired millions with her courage was herself struggling alone, balancing the weight of public expectation with private suffering. Her health issues, initially manageable, gradually escalated. Tests revealed that the fatigue was more than just exhaustion. Her body was signaling deeper concerns that would require intensive treatment. Each new appointment, each diagnosis, added layers of anxiety she tried desperately to mask. Even close friends noticed subtle changes: the slight tremor in her hands, moments of pause before speaking, or rare expressions of fatigue. But Robin dismissed these observations, determined to keep her inner battle hidden. In this period, the line between personal struggle and professional obligation blurred. The very career she loved became a stage she could not escape. While Robin's outward appearance remained composed, the reality of her private life was marked by fear, uncertainty, and mounting stress. Nights were often the hardest, filled with restless thoughts and quiet reflection on the fragility of life. She began to realize that strength was not merely about enduring. It was about surviving while maintaining a semblance of normalcy for those who depended on her. Despite these challenges, Robin's resilience began to take shape. She learned to manage her treatments, balance her workload, and navigate her health concerns discreetly. Yet, the emotional strain remained profound, underscoring the complexity of her situation. The silent struggle was not visible to the public eye, but it was ever present, shaping her daily existence and leaving an indelible mark on her journey. Through all of this, one truth remained constant: Robin Roberts' commitment to her work and to those who looked up to her never wavered. Even in the face of heartache that most would find overwhelming, the world saw the smile, but the reality behind it revealed a woman fighting a quiet, relentless battle, a battle that would define the next chapters of her life and mark the beginning of a story both heartbreaking and inspiring. After years of maintaining her professional composure, Robin Roberts faced a challenge that tested her resilience in ways she could never have anticipated. The health complications that began quietly had escalated, forcing her into a grueling regimen of treatments, checkups, and hospital visits. Each appointment brought new information, new risks, and a growing awareness of how fragile her situation had become. The physical demands alone were exhausting. Long hours of chemotherapy, blood tests, and procedures left her body drained. Every morning she awoke with fatigue that no amount of rest seemed to relieve. Yet she continued to push herself forward, motivated by the need to maintain her career, her responsibilities, and the image of strength she had cultivated over decades. The battle became deeply personal as well. The uncertainty surrounding her health weighed heavily on her mind, leading to sleepless nights and moments of quiet fear. She worried about the potential impact on her loved ones, wondering how they would cope if the worst were to happen. Robin's instinct was always to protect those around her, even at the cost of her own comfort. This desire to shield others created a profound sense of isolation. As she bore the brunt of her struggle alone, friends and colleagues noticed subtle changes: the occasional pause, a hint of weariness, or a fleeting expression of pain, but she never allowed these signs to disrupt her professional demeanor. The emotional toll of this hidden battle was immense. Robin had spent her life being the pillar of strength for others, inspiring viewers with her courage and composure. Yet behind the smile and reassuring voice, she faced intense anxiety, fear, and vulnerability. The treatments were not just physically taxing, they drained her emotionally, leaving her questioning her own limits. Each day became a balancing act, presenting confidence and stability on camera, while confronting uncertainty and fragility in private. Loneliness compounded the challenge. Restrictions related to her treatments meant fewer social interactions and limited contact with loved ones. While she valued the support she received, the reality of isolation added another layer of difficulty. Even simple activities, sharing a meal, enjoying casual conversation, or relaxing with friends, required caution and planning. The very relationships that provided comfort sometimes felt distant, leaving her to navigate fear and exhaustion largely alone. Yet through this hidden struggle, Robin continued to demonstrate remarkable perseverance. She adapted to the demands of her treatments, learning how to conserve energy, manage her schedule, and endure the ongoing challenges. Her dedication to her work never faltered, even as her personal health demanded attention and care. The balance was delicate and often painful, but she remained committed to her career and to the audience who relied on her. Robin Roberts' life illustrates the profound complexity of facing private battles while maintaining a public persona. The world saw her strength and composure, but behind the scenes, she was enduring an ordeal that tested every facet of her being, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. And although she kept much of this struggle hidden, it would ultimately shape her journey, reinforcing her resilience while underscoring the heartbreaking realities she faced along the way. Even the strongest people reach a moment when endurance is no longer enough. And for Robin Roberts, that moment came quietly, but with overwhelming weight. Months of grueling treatments, emotional strain, and the constant pressure to appear composed had pushed her to the edge. The exhaustion was no longer just physical, it had seeped into her spirit, leaving her questioning her ability to continue. On the surface, she still appeared confident, reassuring, and unshakable, but privately, Robin felt herself nearing the limits of what she could endure. The breaking point was not a sudden event. It came gradually, in early mornings spent alone, staring at her reflection, feeling the fragility of her body and the vulnerability of her situation. Her once bright eyes now looked tired, her movements slower, and her iconic smile weaker, almost forced. There were moments when she paused mid-preparation, gripping the counter or her notes for support, silently acknowledging the toll the fight had taken. The contrast between the image she projected to the world and the reality of her experience became painfully clear. Emotionally, the pressure was relentless. Robin feared disappointing her colleagues, her audience, and her loved ones. Each message of support from viewers, though uplifting, reminded her of the expectations she carried and magnified her anxiety. Even small mistakes or pauses on air felt like failures, intensifying the emotional burden she bore. Nights were often the hardest, filled with long hours of restlessness and self-reflection, leaving her feeling isolated despite the presence of friends and family nearby. The fear of losing independence and control over her life compounded the challenge. Robin understood how serious her condition could become, and the uncertainty of the future weighed heavily on her mind. Simple daily routines, once taken for granted, now required careful planning and energy conservation. She longed for normalcy, but had to face the reality that her life had irrevocably changed. One evening, after a particularly draining treatment, Robin experienced the full weight of her situation. She returned home weak, struggling to walk, and sat in silence, tears quietly streaming down her face. It was not the physical pain that overwhelmed her, but the emotional realization that she could not continue indefinitely at the pace she had maintained. She whispered to herself, admitting for the first time that she was exhausted, fearful, and uncertain of the path ahead. Despite reaching this breaking point, Robin did not surrender. Instead, she acknowledged the reality of her limits and allowed herself to confront the depth of her vulnerability. This moment of truth became pivotal, reshaping the way she approached her recovery, her work, and her personal life. While the struggle was far from over, Robin's acknowledgement of her breaking point marked the beginning of a more conscious, deliberate approach to survival, one rooted in self-awareness, resilience, and the understanding that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the perseverance through it. This chapter illustrates how even someone as celebrated and admired as Robin Roberts can reach moments of profound vulnerability. The world may see courage and composure, but the human heart often carries invisible scars, and surviving the breaking point requires both inner fortitude and the willingness to accept help, rest, and healing, even after enduring some of the most challenging periods of her life. Robin Roberts continues to face the aftermath of her health struggles with quiet determination. At 65, she remains a figure of inspiration, but the reality behind the scenes is far more heartbreaking than the public realizes. While she appears on television with her signature warmth and professionalism, her life has been shaped by moments of fear, vulnerability, and loss that few could fully comprehend. The experiences that tested her strength have left emotional scars that remain, influencing how she approaches every aspect of her life. From personal relationships to professional obligations, one of the most difficult aspects of Robin's journey has been the persistent sense of isolation. Treatments and recovery routines limited her ability to see loved ones as often as she would have liked. Even routine social interactions carried risks, forcing her to carefully manage her time and energy. Despite the support of family, colleagues, and friends, there were countless moments when she felt entirely alone, grappling with the emotional weight of her circumstances in silence. Her instinct to shield others from worry meant that even those closest to her could not fully understand the depth of her struggle. Yet Robin's resilience remains remarkable. She has adapted to her new reality, finding ways to maintain her career and continue inspiring millions. She shows up every day, fully committed to her work, even when exhaustion or pain threatens to slow her down. Her dedication reflects a deeper understanding of strength, not just as a public image, but as the ability to persevere despite immense personal hardship. She has learned to balance the demands of her health with her passion for journalism, carefully managing her energy while maintaining the quality and authenticity her audience has come to expect. Emotionally, Robin continues to process the trauma of her experiences. She acknowledges the heartbreak she has faced, the moments of fear, and the nights spent questioning how much more she could endure. While she has developed coping mechanisms and found sources of support, The emotional impact of her journey remains a constant presence. Each day is a careful navigation of balance, maintaining positivity for the public, while attending to her personal needs, honoring her own limits without compromising her responsibilities. Perhaps the most poignant aspect of Robin's story is her enduring commitment to lifting others up. Even when her own strength feels stretched, she continues to celebrate the resilience of those around her, to share hope with viewers, and to act as a source of inspiration for anyone facing challenges. The contrast between her public persona and the private struggles she endures adds a layer of heartbreak to her story, reminding the world that strength often comes with unseen costs. Ultimately, Robin Roberts' journey is a testament to human perseverance. At 65, she has faced trials that could have broken anyone, yet she continues to move forward with courage, determination, and compassion. The heartbreaks she has endured are part of her story, shaping her into a woman whose strength is undeniable precisely because it has been tested so profoundly. Her life reminds us that even the brightest smiles can hide deep struggles, and that true resilience is measured not by the absence of hardship, but by the courage to continue despite it.